Hi, happy Friday, Sarah's on Pet Talk. I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, answer 5 questions about Croatia from people who have sent them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatincroatia.com, email my consulting sessions, Cam's consulting sessions, and people who slip them under my rug. So it is not Friday for me, but it's Friday for you. I had to do a pre-record this week. Please don't hold it against me. But at this moment that you are watching it, if you choose to watch it at Friday at 5 o'clock like usual, I am in a masterclass in Bucharest, Romania. So at Expat in Croatia, we always want to ensure that we can all improve our skills. So not just learn more about Croatia, but also just learn how to be better at our jobs, improve our knowledge and expertise. And that goes for me as well. So I'm attending a masterclass on strategy and entrepreneurship that is given by a professor from the London Business School. And the session is at the same time as 5 Question Friday. So, sorry I can't be with you live, but I hope this will suffice. So, I just want to tell you about what's been going on, and then I'll go ahead and dive into the questions. So, last Saturday, we had our annual team building with the Lawyer Network, which we're really close with our Lawyer Network. They help us do what we do to the best of our ability. So, they help guide us on the law to make sure that what we are putting out there, both here on social media as well as on our website, expaticroatia.com, is as accurate as humanly possible. And then also they help all of you out there with any of your legal needs, advice, procedures, so we really work quite closely with them. They are part of our Expat in Croatia family. So every fall, we do some kind of team building with them. The first year we went to Plitvice, the second year we went to Paklenica, and this year we went to Cerovačke Špilje, which are caves in the Velebit region of Croatia, which was pretty cool. And thank goodness we planned it that way because it stormed all day on Saturday. So we were underground for a lot of it, which is great. It's the first time that I've been in like a non-sea cave in Croatia, but I love caves. I've been to a lot of caves in the States, and that was pretty neat. They actually have 2 caves there, but we only had time to do one of them, which is about 750 meters, I think, is how far that one is. But it was pretty cool. Really loved it. So highly recommend that you check it out yourself. If pretty soon, or maybe it will already happen after I recorded this, but before this airs, Denny's gonna post some pictures from our team building on Saturday. So I hope you enjoy that. It's a little sneak peek into our time with the lawyers. So there were 25 of us on Saturday, which is the biggest group that we've ever had. Unfortunately, not all of the law practices could join us. Some people are pregnant, some have just had babies. But yeah, 25 of us all together. And we had nearly the entire Expat in Croatia team together. Not everyone could be there, but more than we've ever had all together, including our 3 new team members, which was pretty cool because they either just started or about to start next week, and so it gave everybody an opportunity to meet them from the very beginning, and vice versa. It's not unusual for someone to start and then they don't meet the lawyers for a year or something. We've had a number of people who started like right before our team building, but they hadn't quite been hired yet, like they'd been identified but hadn't actually gone through the process of acceptance yet, and so they had to wait like a full year before they could meet everybody. So we had a pretty good blast. What else? Honestly, I can't remember this week. I just not a complaint. I'm worn out. I'm beyond worn out. I run off adrenaline. I'm a bit of a machine. So for the last 6 months, I've just been going like the Energizer Bunny. And then when I finally stopped, I just kind of like collapsed. So I'm about to go on my annual long holiday. So I take a long holiday in every November for 3 weeks, and that is about to begin. So I'm really in need of it, really excited about it. So I'll come back from Bucharest and do, a few things to get the new people up and running, and then I am out. I am out until after Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, which we do, Expat Croatia does close for Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. We have American people on our team, and I would give it off to them, so why not give it off to the entire team? So just FYI, we are closed those 2 days, which is a nice little extra break. So let's go ahead and dig into it, shall we? All right, we've got some new questions today, some topics we have not gone over before, which I love when that happens. So this first question is from Erica here on Instagram. She asks, I've been working in Croatia for about 1.5 years, and I have accumulated some money in a bank account called Obvezni Mirovinski Fond Kategorije A. I understand this is a type of retirement fund, but is it possible to access it early when leaving the country and canceling a work permit? I am 30 years old right now. The simple answer is no. So I want to break this down so that we're all on the same page. Whenever you work for an employer in Croatia, they are required by law to contribute to your pension fund, and there are 2 pension funds. So in her case, most likely they're contributing to 2, but you can't get access to that. It's not a bank account in the traditional sense, although for US tax purposes, they consider it a bank account. I am not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but if you're an American and you don't know what the F-bar is, you should find out. So, the technical answer. Funds paid into the personal account are intended exclusively for the payment of a pension at the moment when the insured person fulfills the conditions for a retirement prescribed by Pension Insurance Act. That is the technical from Croatian law answer, but I want to make sure that I put this into layman's terms. The minimum conditions to qualify, so essentially they're saying you can't take anything from your pension until you qualify to take it from your pension, okay? So there are minimum conditions, 2 of them, for you to qualify to take from your pension. 1, you have to contribute in the system for 15 years, at least. And then you also have to meet the pension age, which is 65. Now, there are exceptions to this. The exceptions are usually injury or death, but that still is not going to apply in Erica's situation, so no. Now, there may also be an exception for treaties that Croatia has with other countries, so that would vary by country, and there are a lot of countries that don't have treaties, pension treaties in place with Croatia. Asia is very poorly represented, for example. But generally speaking, you need to contribute at least 15 years to qualify for a pension when you retire at 65. We do have a guide on the pension system that explains all of this in greater detail. If you would like that, send us a DM and we'd be more than happy to send it over to you. Thank you so much, Erica, for asking that question. It's the first time we got that one, actually. Next, this comes from Danielle here on Instagram as well. She said, so we posted a post about KBC Split, which is a hospital, and Danielle asked, will they take any blood donors? I donated all the time in the States and would love to continue here. Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. Unfortunately, no. Only Croatian citizens can donate blood in Croatia. You have to be between 18 and 65. Men can give 4 times a year. Women can give blood 3 times a year, although they do have defined wait periods in between that they require. You cannot, even if you're a Croatian citizen, if you have recently arrived, they will refuse you. There are a number of criteria that you do need to meet, regarding your health. We have those in a post. We do have a guide on how to donate blood in Croatia. So if you would like that, send us a DM. We'll send it over to you. There is one cool benefit. Men who donate more than 35 times and women who donate more than 25 times can get free dopunsko from HZZO. Dopunsko is a health insurance supplement. You can get it from HZZO or a private insurer, and you really should have it. If you have the basic state health insurance here, you should have dopunsko. It only costs an additional 5 to 10 euros per month, depending on who you get it from, but it eliminates your copays, gives you broader access to medicines, and it also, you'll stay in the hospital for free. So, if anything catastrophic happens, you're probably not going to pay anything. Case in point. A friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer at Split Hospital. He was cured and never paid anything because he had dopunsko. So, highly recommended. We also have a guide on dopunsko. If you would like that, send us a DM. Okay. This next one came from an anonymous person, also here on Instagram. I need advice regarding temporary protection status. I want to immediately set a context that when he says temporary protection, he is referring to the temporary protection for Ukrainians. If I stayed in Croatia for 2.5 months and only received temporary protection status at the end of the 3rd month, can I travel to Europe? I was in Croatia for almost 90 days, Schengen days. Looks like I have the option to move out again before 30 days, right? Thank you. So I want to make sure that this isn't confusing because he's talking about temporary protection, but that's irrelevant to this conversation. This question is about Schengen. So let's replace temporary protection with like any kind of residence. Family reunification, language study, prepayment of rent, digital nomad. Just let's plug and play here, okay? Let's boil this down and simplify it. So just to recap, this person has been in Croatia as a tourist for 2.5 months, and then they applied for residence. And so they want to know, after they have that residence, can they then re-enter the Schengen area is essentially what they're asking. So you can only be in Schengen for 90 days in a 180-day period. Period, the end, that's the rule. Unless you're an EU citizen. EU citizens have free reign in the Schengen area, okay? So we're talking about third country nationals here. 90 days, 180-day period. Every day that you do not have a residence permit in the country where you physically are located, you are accruing Schengen time. So when you come to Croatia as a tourist, you're accruing Schengen time. When you're waiting for your residence permit to be approved in Croatia, you are accruing Schengen time. Once you are approved for that residence permit, your Schengen clock stops. But that does not mean you can then re-enter Schengen immediately, because that calculation may stop, but it doesn't erase the Schengen time you already had accrued. So if you've been in Croatia waiting for 4 months for your residence to be approved, you're way past your 90 days and 180-day period. Now, as long as you stay in Croatia, that's fine. But if you want to leave Croatia, you will be over time, and you can't do that. Look, we get a lot of questions from people like, how's Croatia gonna know if I leave Croatia and I'm over my Schengen time and I stay in the Schengen, how is anyone gonna know? Look, don't do that. I'm not gonna advise you to mislead the government, because what happens if you do get caught is you get a ban. It could be 1 year, it could be up to 5 years, and it could be, you'll definitely get a fine. And that fine, now that Croatia's in the Schengen zone, could be thousands of euros. So don't do it. We did actually have a case recently where someone did get fined. They miscalculated their days, and yeah, they got fined and they got a 1-year ban from entering Croatia. So that is a thing that absolutely can happen. So let me just backtrack a little bit, just so it's abundantly clear. You've waited 4 months for your... Well, actually, let's go back to this example that he's using, because we're trying to answer his question. He spent 2.5 months in Croatia, and then he applied for residence. Well, he's asking, can he go back into Europe? Well, if he spent 2.5 months in Croatia, then that means he only has half a month left, so 2 weeks left on his Schengen time. So he could spend 2 weeks in Schengen, and that's assuming he didn't go anywhere else in Schengen before he came into Croatia. And that's it. Then he would have to wait 90 days in Croatia before he could go back out into Europe. So that's important to know. How would you get caught? If you get in a car accident, if you check into any kind of accommodation, because accommodations report your presence to the local police. If you get into anything that involves the police, for that matter, that is how they will find out. If you go to a Schengen border, that's how they will find out. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in Europe right now, if you haven't noticed. Slovenia, for example, has put up checkpoint borders back again on the Italian border, Hungarian border, and Croatian border. So there are checkpoints again, even within Schengen. So be prepared for that. Don't be cocky about it, please. We do have a guide about Schengen, so if you'd like that, send us a DM. Thank you so much for that question. All right, this next one comes from John on email. I want to look into the possibility of having my mom move here to Croatia. I'm a U.S. citizen and she is as well. I just renewed my temporary stay and it's good for another 2 years. I'm here based on my wife being a Croatian citizen. Essentially, I just want to figure out if it's possible for my mom to move here based on my current situation, or would I need to be approved for a permanent stay first? The simple answer is no. No. So Croatia in the law has a very clear list of the situations in which you can have family reunification, okay? So they have a list for third country nationals and they have a list for Croatian citizens. So according to the rules for third country citizens, they cannot bring a parent to Croatia based on family reunification, regardless of whether you have long-term residence or not, regardless of any other factors. However, there is one clause under the Croatian citizen requirements, I guess, that I could see some wiggle room. You know, but it's all up to how MOP decides to interpret these things. And it's not a guarantee. So what it says is other people who are considered a part of the family of EU nationals or their spouses, extramarital partners, life partners, and informal partners of EU nationals who are dependent members of the family, household members, or dependent on the family due to serious health conditions. I know that's a long sentence that probably just went over most people's heads, but I want to tell you what I'm zeroing in on. It's the other people who are considered part of the family of EU nationals or their spouses. So considered part of their family, their spouse's family. It's not quite clear what they mean here, but I could see that wiggle room there. So let's see that you wanted to try it anyways. You would need to prove that your mother is a dependent, like a serious dependent of your nuclear family, like medically dependent, like cannot take care of herself, you know, she has serious health conditions, or that she's financially dependent on you. So you would have to prove that. Now, I did have a chat with somebody on a consulting session a couple of times this year, in which case the mother-in-law, the Croatian's mother-in-law, so it was a mother of a third country national, his spouse, who did have serious health conditions and also was financially dependent. And so that is something that they have been pursuing. Now, most likely in their case, they're not going to allow them to do it based on family reunification. So instead, they're going to try to apply for her under humanitarian reasons. So like I said, it's not straightforward. Croatia is a big gray area, which I think upsets a lot of people, but in my perspective, I think in a lot of ways it can actually benefit you. So it's really about going to MOP and explaining the situation, and then they'll let you know what's possible. But I wouldn't try, don't fake something. If she's not financially dependent, if she's not health dependent, then don't lie. Find another way that she can come here. There are lots of other residence permits. Now, of course, they don't allow you to stay back to back, stay long term. Croatia's immigration system is purposely built that way. And sometimes there's just not a good solution. I had a call with some people earlier this week, and I mean, we went through a lot of different options, but none of them were ideal for them. And sometimes there's just not a solution that's a good one. I mean, that happens. And I was chatting with Cam, our other consultant, about this, you know, because I've learned this over many, many, many years of doing this. Is I want to help. I want to be able to give everybody a solution that works for them. And there's just this need inside of me to be able to do that. But it does not benefit anybody for us to sugarcoat, for us to massage the truth, for us to be more hopeful. Because hope doesn't do a whole lot for you when you're talking about the Croatian immigration system. So we have to be honest with people, and sometimes being honest, and one person actually told me, this was a few years ago, after she told me what her plans were, and I had to unfortunately kill her dreams, and she was like, I now want to go dunk my head in the toilet. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, sometimes that happens, unfortunately, and that's why it's really important to educate yourself before you come to Croatia, or really any country for that matter, so that when you get here and your expectations are completely shattered because the reality is much different than what you thought it was, your life's not going to be derailed because of it, and you're just going to be better prepared. So that's why we're here, to prepare you and give you all the information that you need. And we have guides for absolutely everything. So even there are people on our team who don't realize all the guides that we have, because they started after they were published, and it's just, our library is just so extensive. So at this point, I know this is going to sound harsh, but there is no excuse for coming here and not knowing something about the residence permit that you're trying to obtain. There really isn't at this point. I mean, even MOP's website has improved dramatically. I mean, when I got here, they had nothing in English. Now they have quite a few things in English. Obviously, there's still some gaps, which is where we can come in, but there's just no excuse. Especially the biggest thing that I'd have to say is there's no excuse for not knowing that you need a background check. That's something super clear. So when you come here and you hear, oh, I need a background check, don't be surprised by that, because that's something that I know we scream about a lot, because we still encounter people that don't know that. So I know I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent, but you know how I love tangents. So we have a guide on how to apply for residence based on family reunification. And in that guide, we go into detail. We translated the law. Who is considered a family member of a third country national? Who is considered a family member of a Croatian citizen? And the situations in which those family members can obtain residence based on family reunification. So our last question is actually also related to family reunification, but it's a different situation. So I wanted to cover this at the same time. This came in from Winter on email. How do you show your relationship for the purposes of a residence application if you are not married? We also have not done this question before, I don't think. So family reunification is possible between partners who are not married if they have been, if they're considered common law. So Croatia has defined this. You need to be together for at least 3 years. The exception to that rule is if you have a child. Okay? So in terms of what you can use to prove that you are in a common law relationship, I'm going to go through a few of the things now. So if you have a child, this would be the birth certificate of the child that shows that you're both parents. So that's pretty straightforward. If you don't have a child, then the easiest thing that you can do is show that you've been living on the same address for more than 3 years. Now, I have had many clients where they haven't been living on the same address for 3 years. I've actually had clients that have been living in separate countries. I'm not saying that's impossible, but it definitely makes things harder. So there's other things that you can do. You can use an excerpt from a register of a common law union. So there are some countries where you can register your common law union. I think Canada is one of them. You can use a notarized statement. So you both go in front of a public notary and say, hey, we're in a relationship. This is when it started, blah, 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 blah. And that has to obviously be in Croatian. And then you can also use witness statements. So this is a version of that. So people that have been witness to your relationship go in front of a public notary and say, hey, we've known these people this long and they've been in a relationship for this long and this is how we know this. And then also social media. I have seen social media be used for common law partners. Now, there are possibly other things that could be used for this. You know, every single case is different. Be prepared for all of those possibilities if you have an unorthodox one, but wait until Mook tells you what they need. If you have not been living on the same, start with same address. That's where you start. If that doesn't work, then you go to the notarized statement, usually. But you never want to give Mook anything that they have not asked for. So let them tell you what it is that they need, and then you give it. But be prepared for all scenarios. So we also go into this in more detail in that same family reunification guide. So if you'd like that, send us a DM. So that's it, guys. We're all done here now. I hope you enjoyed these questions. If you would like to see your question answered on a future episode, then send us a DM and we'll add it to our queue and consider it for a future episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say or tell you. I don't know. I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and go now because it is Thursday morning and I need to finish packing and drive to the airport and off to Bucharest. So wish me luck. And yeah, that's it. Bye bye bye. Vidimo se. Ciao.